Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good? Good. We can all smile. Come on. So, hey, look, as I said on stage, we are, I think, every era has a defining moment. And I think we are seeing that right now. It is sort of a Netscape moment, not of just technology, but what I tend to call the technology trinity. You heard about that. Hopefully, if you were at the opening, you probably heard about that. AI, hybrid cloud, quantum. I think this is what is going to be shaping how we progress, not just as an economy moving towards Viksit Bharat, but I think it's shaping the world all over. And I think we will continue to see this. Second point, you heard about our announcement and our partnership with Airtel and in terms of augmenting the Airtel cloud to truly develop a built in India cloud for regulated industries. One which is hybrid by design, open by nature, drives resiliency, is compliant with the laws of the land, and something that can help clients really scale AI and applications as they move forward. So as a part of this particular announcement, what clients will have access to is, in a cloud environment, they will have access to IBM Power 11 servers, which are optimized for AI, and they will also have access to IBM software in an as-a-service environment. And particularly with clients that today have critical workloads that are operating on-prem, this gives an opportunity for them to start to move to a cloud environment. One, again, that is compliant with the laws of the land and can really drive and help them drive resilience as well as a cost-optimized option to move to the cloud. So that is our announcement. You heard from some of our clients who are all obviously talking about this. And I think more so, there was a reference to this earlier. I think as we've talked to different ministries, to the PMO office, to other regulators, as these regulations get defined in India, particularly related to data residency, sovereignty, and so on, what we believe is that these will continue to evolve. And this is where this particular offering and the solution that we've announced today becomes more and more relevant, even for government and other regulated entities. Now, we today, I believe, are at a unique position in India, given the GDP growth that we are seeing in India and the digitization that's happening, not just, I think, in private enterprises, but also what the government is doing. And as we reflect on the solutions, the offerings that we are driving, particularly with AI, hybrid cloud, and then ultimately quantum, I do believe that we are well positioned to really participate and help both enterprises and government and public sector entities move towards the promise of Viksit Bharat. Let me just pause there and ask Hans to offer his comments as well.
All right, so very, very good to see such a large group of interesting folks here to talk to us and ask some really good questions on the partnership we're announcing with Bharti Airtel, which I think is pivotal for India. And across Asia Pacific, I've got the privilege of leading Asia Pacific for IBM. I see more of these similar partnership emerging. We've done a few in Indonesia. I see Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore. All across Asia Pacific, these types of partnerships are emerging, all for similar reasons. They need enterprise-grade AI. Our clients want to be in control of their data, in control of their destinies. And these partnerships actually fuel that desire. When we look at power, when we look at SAP, how do we create platforms that on and off premise allow our clients to harness the best of those both worlds? And again, that's what we're bringing to fruition here with Airtel. Airtel very strong infrastructure player, very big telco, obviously, across India. We've got a long history with Bharti Airtel, long relationship. But the enterprise-grade offerings, software, technology, but also philosophies that IBM has around technology and enterprise clients is what makes this partnership a very, very strong one. Now, maybe I can pivot a little bit of what I see in Asia Pacific, which I believe is also very much a reality here for India. Many of the enterprises that we work with and have a pleasure serving, including some of the governments, they are organized, I call them post-Second World War organizational constructs. They're siloed by product, they are organized by geography, they're optimized for each of the relevant silos. When you look at artificial intelligence, when you look at technology that is emerging to what Sandeep said, hybrid cloud, AI, and quantum in the near future, there's a very new organizational construct emerging, which is a construct of what we call workflows. So if you take a lens of workflows on organizations, you could see that any organization has 10, 50, 100 types of workflows, both internally but also externally, that can be optimized by using these types of technologies. And by unlocking workflow thinking augmented by artificial intelligence, you can see that there's a whole new chapter of value creation that is emerging without completely reorganizing enterprises. So we can talk about that in a second, but we see a complete reinvention in how organizations are bringing value to market, augmented by the technology that we as a company help them use. The third thing that I believe is really important is this topic of data sovereignty, ownership of the data, ownership of the AI models. We as a company believe that the control and flexibility that is needed for clients needs to be theirs. They need to be able to choose where to run their data, how to govern their data, how to create value from it. It shouldn't be a vendor or an external party that defines that. It should be them as enterprises. And this is where we as an IBM company help them do that in a very open manner. We create AI platforms with them. We create AI models with these enterprises and governments for the purpose that they are serving to their end clients or constituents. And I believe that's a very, very important point that differentiates the IBM of today from anyone else. We take the lens of the enterprise, we take the lens of the governments and help them deploy the value that they need to deploy in a very secure, open, and trusted way. And I believe the partnership here with Airtel will be a testimony to that. So let me pause and open it up for some questions in the room.
Totally. And if I may request you to state your name and the media you represent, and then ask your question. Who has the first one? Yes.
These kind of partnership happening?
I think, as I mentioned even on stage, right, we are living in a world of ecosystems and partners, and collaboration, I think, is the way. I think there's very little that a single entity can do to serve all client needs. So I think we've always thrived on creating value for our clients. So where there is an intersection of capabilities that we can bring together to add more value to clients, we'll continue to look at that.
And how are enterprises responding to all these kind of initiatives?
Well, I mean, look, any of these partnerships that we announce, we try to have the foresight to always test it with both enterprises and the environment. And as I think you saw on stage today, enterprises are, in fact, when a partnership brings a larger value to them than what's available independently, they always see value in it. And that's, I think you saw the proof in, if you were in the main tent, you saw proof in that with some of the clients, and that was a representation of some of the clients, large clients, who are seeing the value in it.
Thank you very much.
Muntazir,
Hi,
yes.
Sandeep. This is Muntazir Abbas from ET. So can you share a bit of more insights into these partnerships, including GTM, and what do you mean by regulated industries? I mean, what sectors you are referring to? And the second part is you recently launched Network Intelligence, which is AI-based solution for telecommunications industry. So what has been the progress so far? Are you in talks with the Indian operators?
So I think our entire portfolio that we build, we never build it for a single jurisdiction. It's always something that is built, and particularly industry solutions, they apply to industries worldwide. So we continue to progress that. To your point about more details on the partnership, essentially what this implies is basically what we talked about. These are data centers and network that Airtel provides with our industry-leading cloud stack that is made available, including power technology, which a lot of mission-critical workloads run on today in India, including financial services, many government entities. You saw Tata Steel and Amul on stage, so enterprises like that. And so we will continue to look at both incumbent clients as well as new clients that are looking to move workloads, mission-critical workloads to the cloud, where they are concerned about data residency and evolving regulatory environment that is happening in India to move these workloads.
Sandeep, hi.
Yes, hi.
Anurag, PT now. But could you give more details about, how this tie-up with Airtel will benefit the customers of Airtel and your clients?
So I think, look, every client today is looking at how they can become more agile, how they can reduce time to market, how they can take advantage of AI capabilities and really continue to enhance their services to their end customers, and do that both by meeting the evolving regulations of the land as well as in a cost optimized manner. So what this enables them to do is, and I'll give you a couple of very live examples. As SAP continues to move to more of a cloud-based solution with SAP RISE, the question that a lot of clients that are today operating that on-prem on power servers are wondering, how do we now move to the cloud whilst preserving sort of more of a private cloud-like environment that meets data residency requirements and some of the resilience that they expect from power technology. So that is one example of what value this partnership brings to those incumbent clients. As you start to look at other government entities, other public sector entities that today have not moved a lot of mission critical workloads to the cloud, this offers a regulated option for them to consider what portions of those workloads they might consider to move to the cloud, but at the same time maintain a hybrid environment, which is what I think is going to be the way of the future everywhere. Nothing's ever going to be purely on the cloud or purely on-prem, but this gives the optionality to clients to consider agile and flexible infrastructure that is both cost optimized and meets the regulatory requirements of the land.
So it is about how much more clients can open up to public cloud environment?
A public or a private or a sovereign cloud environment. I mean, ultimately, it's all about hybrid, right?
Okay. Shilpa had a question, I
Hi.
think. Yes.
So this is Shilpa from the Times of India. You spoke about the Project Bob, where 8,000 employees are upskilled in a hybrid cloud environment. I didn't quite catch that, if you can tell me about that. And secondly, you also spoke about how developer personas are getting disrupted. So if you can touch upon that. The other part of the question, Sandeep sir, to you is, you spoke about data residency, but if you see some of your peers like Microsoft are contractually building in jurisdictional safeguards into the contracts. They're setting up work councils. How are you looking at this?
You want to talk about Bob first, and then
I want to talk about Bob. It's actually a personified version of a coder. So Bob equals the persona, start to finish, from source code creation to application deployment. And what we've done is we basically created Bob as a persona to augment a lot of the development life cycles that happen within IBM, but also with our clients. So if you look at Bob, and I welcome you to go online and actually look at some of the YouTubes we just released out of Tech Exchange in the US. It's really, really interesting to see how various agents in an organization like ours actually are personified through Bob, and then the interaction of professionals that interact with Bob on the full life cycle of application development. And so Bob is a personification of agentic in the coding world. Very, very interesting to see that live. So that's Bob that was referenced on stage by Dinesh.
Yeah, you spoke about the 8,000 number, so if you can just clarify that.
Shilpa, we can come back with the details.
No, let me just address it very directly. So 2 points I'll make on Bob. I think what Dinesh referred to is the 8,000 developers at IBM who are, in fact, using Bob today. Because I think, look, one of the things we've always prided ourselves on is being client zero. Whether, whatever we release, we try to apply it to ourselves. And I think that's the point that Dinesh was making. Very similar to, I think, the early announcements which we've made, where using Watson X for enterprise automation, I think beginning of this year, we said that we had taken about $3.5 billion out of our bottom line. I think we're on a path to take about $4.5 billion by the end of this year. So think about it as IBM as a client zero, eating our own cooking to really make sure that we can bring that value into our own enterprise through those solutions. So, and I will tell you, by the way, yesterday we hosted a business partner event in the evening, and there were several partners who had actually gone to Tech Exchange, and many of them came up to me and said, Sandeep, this Bob thing is great. We need to start using it a lot more.
But more on Bob too, Shilpa, from us. Yes, we will
more on Bob
share
later.
more details.
But what was your other question? Sorry, Shilpa, could you just repeat that again?
Yeah, surely in terms of managing sovereign cloud environments, a lot of your peers are looking at how they're going to safeguard jurisdictional challenges that emerge from such deployments more effectively. So they built a very tight-knit system around it.
So that, in my view, I don't know if anyone can declare that you've built a tight-knit system around jurisdiction that's still evolving. When you look at today, I would venture to guess no one can declare exactly what the DPDP Act is going to get enacted as, right? There are guidelines. There's information that is out there. So I think that becomes I don't profess to say that we've got everything buttoned up to the T, because what we have to button up to, that's not available right now, right? So I see this as a process of ongoing evolution and dialogue with the regulators that will inform how we enable the technology to address clients' and customers' needs.
And I think the other component that is really important is that you have to realize that a dramatic amount of data, a dramatic amount of the compute sits on-premise and will remain to be on-premise. So when you talk about sovereignty, when you talk about regulation, you can talk to public clouds, but you can never talk about public clouds in isolation. You have to look at it through the hybrid lens. How do you harness and govern on-premise, off-premise, multiple clouds? How do you do that correctly? And again, our strategy, when you look at hybrid, data, AI, the way we are looking at it through the lens of the enterprise, we're looking at that full scope. And I think that's really differentiated and needed for the enterprises to bring that technology to life.
Okay, Ivor, you want to go?
Yes.
Hey, and can I just in the interest of time and to be fair, if you can keep your questions to a single question versus multi-part, that'd be really helpful. I know it's difficult, but go ahead.
I'll try, Sandeep. It was great once again to hear about relationships with customers, and some of them, I think, they're older than some of the people in the room over here. But I wanted to, ask about a slightly different part of AI. This is related to models, and there's this huge war going on, even great power conflict, and that is where again India, I think, after DeepSeek, there's been a great realization that we are quite far behind. So, what is IBM doing to help build the ecosystem for India to perhaps get out there, build perhaps something like DeepSeek or AI models? And also, what part does quantum really play in it? Because quantum is going to be the differentiator of the future. Y'all are just getting quantum. It's still very early days. But will that make a huge difference, and what are you all doing about it?
Did we plant this question? No, but I'm glad. Actually, thank you for asking the question. So on the first part, I would encourage you, I don't know when the session is, but there's a session we are running on with our research team on with a partner client, BharatGen. And one of the things that we're doing a couple of things to your particular question about how are we helping India leapfrog in this whole area of AI model development and so on. BharatGen is and you probably read about it in the press, they are a startup that has come out of IIT Mumbai, that is funded through METI and DST, and they are in the process of building out Indic language models as well as other AI use cases. We have actually they reached out to us seeing some of both the toolkit that we use to build out our Granite models, as well as the progress that we've been making in watsonx. And we just recently announced an MOU with them that was officiated through DST, where we are helping them with both open source as well as proprietary tools to help them accelerate that development of those Indic models. So that's one. Second, we will also be working with them to look at how do we help them accelerate go-to-market in terms of identifying India-specific use cases that we can work with them to progress with both watsonx and some of the toolkit as a platform, as well as the models that they are building. To your point about models, just want to, and I've said this in the press earlier as well, we as IBM fundamentally believe that the world will not compete on models. Models need to continue to be democratized to drive and expand innovation. Where we will have differentiation is how we manage, curate, and work with data, and how we organize data appropriately. What kind of use cases do we drive that are aligned to environment and client needs? And then most importantly, how do we drive responsible AI through the right kind of governance? And those are the basic principles on which we have built our AI platform. Now, to your point about quantum, think about quantum as the next evolution of computing. We have to make sure that we don't think about quantum as a hammer looking for a nail. It is not. It enables us to solve problems that traditional computing cannot today. And I think as we look at the next stage of evolution of both AI as well as other forms of computing, that is where quantum becomes relevant. That's point number one. Point number two, I think as quantum evolves, we are going to be under greater threat of cybersecurity risks because hackers will continue to get worse. And this is where making sure that we are driving quantum cryptography into how we protect our systems becomes extremely important. And to this end, this is one of the things that one of the things I always feel extremely proud about is how IBM continues to look out into the future. So these are things that we've progressively been looking at. Our recent announcement of Guardium, which is a very, very popular and well-accepted data security platform that we offer, we have just recently announced that getting further enhanced with Quantum Safe, which makes it even more powerful in terms of how you prevent cybersecurity threats with that. So hopefully that answers your question on both fronts. That's the way, at least that's philosophically the way we think about it.
Yeah, also I think on the quantum mission of India, we are very strongly aligned.
So both, I think one of the things with, and again, this is something I've been out there, both quantum mission and semiconductor mission. We have been actually very tightly engaged with the government of India right from the start in terms of shaping the thinking around it, just given our global leadership in this space.
Good afternoon, Sandeep. Brian Pereira from ISMG reporting for CIO Inc. My question is about technical debt. A lot of organizations are still using monolithic 40-year-old code which runs on mainframes, COBOL code. And they find that as a stumbling block when you're integrating with all these new AI systems that are coming in. It's holding back innovation, but for some reason they're holding on to it. How is IBM going to help? It said that technical debt collectively at a global level will take like billions of lines of codes, will take 10 years or more. Developers will have to stop doing everything and go and fix that and then come back. It'll hold back innovation. How is IBM helping customers to bridge that gap? Because we have moved on to more agile methodologies and we have embraced microservices. But this is monolithic 40-year-old code. So that's a problem there, and how are you helping customers?
Yes.
So let me start off and then I'll let you talk about it from an APAC perspective as well. So look, a lot of the technologies and innovation that we are continuing to announce basically addresses or attempts to address that as long as clients are willing to adopt it. And what you just talked about in terms of monolithic code, I think if we look at certain other jurisdictions like Japan, the entire banking system still operates on COBOL written code, which keeps on getting refreshed year over year. That said, the question Shilpa asked about Bob and the work that we've been doing in terms of automated code development using AI is a step in that direction to say how do we help clients who are wanting to renovate and improve their technological legacy in the right way to sort of do that appropriately. This is precisely also why this particular announcement that we did today is very relevant. As clients sort of start to become more agile, start to look at offering services for clients that are more innovative, more forward-looking, the ability for the clients to even disassociate the core from the presentation layer and others becomes more and more important.
I mean, if something's 40 years old, like with anything that's 40 years old, it needs modernization. And especially COBOL, it's one of the first fundamental programming languages.
Compiler-based.
Right? And what is so unique about COBOL, it talks directly to the chip. Modern programming languages actually have a lot of interfacing in between. So what IBM is doing, we are developing and helping our clients with modernizing that code through a program and a product we call Code Modernization, Z Code Assistant, where the first step in all of this is first understanding the code, which is really interesting. Many of the COBOL code does not have proper documentation, right? So the first step we're helping clients with is to actually ingest the code, tens of thousands of lines, translate them into what do all these sections of code do, to then eventually help them to be translated in, for example, Java, which is a much more modern language. But the first step, instead of automatically converting, is actually understanding it. And this is where we're helping many, many clients across the world on modernizing their COBOL code.
Could you please repeat the name of the product or service again?
Z Code Assistant.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
That's one of several others that we continue to.
There are many, but this one is specifically
This
for
one's for Z mainframes.
for Z mainframe COBOL.
Fantastic. Any last questions, or otherwise yes.
We're done already. Last questions already.
We're running out of time.
Hi, I'm Deepak from New Indian Express. So you spoke about responsible AI and how government is, working on a governance model.
I didn't refer to any model from the government, but we have built that into our. But go ahead, finish your question.
But you also spoke about some regulations that government is working on, and
so finish your question and then I'll answer.
So what I'm trying to understand is there any model or governance model or regulatory framework that any country is using which can be used in India, or India can replicate that kind of model?
Okay, so let me answer your question first about regulations driving responsible AI at a government level. I don't believe that there is any definitive regulation right now that governs AI or responsible AI. There are guidelines that Reserve Bank has published around what they would consider as elements of responsible AI that other banks and financial services institutions are using. So that's one regulation. There is discussion, I think there's ongoing consultation that happens around how AI in general should be regulated and driven. And there's obviously the evolving DPDP Act, which I think everyone knows about. So those are the regulations, as I said, it's a regulatory environment, new technology, and the regulatory environment that is evolving. On our end, we actually anticipated this. I mean, given the way we have developed technologies around the world, we had anticipated that this is something that will happen around the world, which is precisely why when we launched our AI platform, watsonx, it has three very specific components. There is watsonx.data, which basically enables us to organize data because there's no AI without IA, information architecture. So it helps you organize the data and structure the data to be used for AI. watsonx.ai, which is a development studio where you actually use our language models or any other language models that are available from other folks to actually develop AI use cases that are very specific to solve enterprise problems. And the third is watsonx.governance, which basically enables how you drive responsible AI that has all the elements of data provenance, data governance, model management, how many AI use cases are prevalent in any organization, etc. And this is something that is actually gaining a lot of acceptance both with clients as well as other service partners. So we have actually done some work with a very large GSI in India that has actually stopped developing their own governance model and has adopted watsonx.governance as a platform for their both internal use as well as their client use. And this is something that we expect will continue to evolve as regulations evolve around the world. Now, to your question about is there something out there that India can adopt? I don't think that's a fair question to ask any government. Because even if I thought that there was something in some other country, being presumptuous to say that India should adopt it, I think that's extremely arrogant. We shouldn't even think about that. I mean, what is true for a jurisdiction is what that jurisdiction thinks is relevant for their operations. And so I think, as is true, which we see around the world, every jurisdiction looks at things that are evolving with new technologies and how that actually should take hold within that government.
All right.
Fair?
Actually, want to add something? Yes, please.
I want to loop it back to the announcement we made with Airtel today. When you look at artificial intelligence and you look at the governance of it, we believe in small domain-specific knowledge based on our clients' data, and the models we create are that of our client. When you really look at the compute that's needed to create these small domain-specific models and to govern them, you need a process we call inferencing. The inferencing of the models, training the models, is what this announcement actually will unlock. Because when our clients are building their small models, we can now use the competence that in this partnership that we're bringing to inference very quickly, train the models, make them more efficient, but also put the governance layer that Sandeep talked about on these models so they respond in the right manners of how the enterprise wants to communicate to their end client. So inferencing on this partnership is going to be really critical as well as governing it. And that's the flexibility that has been unlocked with this announcement today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hans. Thanks, Sandeep. And with that, we'll wrap the session. But I will invite you to join us and see the forum. You'll see AI in action. Also, Diwali spirit, we have a food festival celebrating the flavors and food of India. So please do join us for lunch as well. We'll help you with whatever else you need.
Look at all the things that we're showcasing, because it's actually technology in action.
And the quantum chandelier too. Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hans. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.